Good morning, everyone. It's May 21st, 2021. I'm Kimberly Jolly from Fat Quarter Shop, and we're just cruising right along in our Sewcialites Sew Along. It's a free sew along where you can get all of the patterns at fatquartershop.com, and we're offering free sizes in 3-inch, 6-inch, and 9-inch. And today's block is block 32. It's called the Bright Block, and it's designed by Chelsi Stratton. So I'm going to show you her block, and she used fabric from her and her mom's fabric collection. So they designed for Moda Fabrics under the name Sherry and Chelsi. So there is her block. I'm not sure what size it is, but if I had to guess, I would say 6 inches. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to kind of break up the block a little bit for you. So this is the block that I made using the Homestead collection with a white on white from a different collection. And this is it in 3, 6, and 9. I'm going to move these away so I can just kind of break up the block for you a little bit. These two blocks will be making half square triangles. So I'm going to use triangle paper, and I'm going to tell you what size to do with each size. These are cat's cradle blocks. Now, I don't use a special ruler to do cat's cradle. I came up with a way years and years ago that works for me, so I just do that. Now, there are a lot of rulers out there. There is a Creative Grids ruler, and there's a Deb Tucker ruler. I just don't have very much experience using those, and what I do works for me, so I don't feel like I need to buy another ruler. And then these are just 3 square blocks. So I'm going to show you kind of the Kimberly way to make a cat's cradle. I'm also going to be using directional fabric. I've gotten a lot of questions on how do you fix directional fabric, and I'm going to show you what I do today because I pretty much just wing it. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to be using, this is Homestead by April Rosenthal. This fabric right here is Figs and Shirting by Fig Tree. Now, when I started this program, I showed how to make 9-inch blocks. I turned that into a quilt. And then I showed how to make 6-inch blocks, and I turned that into a quilt. And now I'm going to make 3-inch blocks, and I'm going to sew them up into pin cushions. So I'm going to show you how to make this block. So I have covered up the 6-inch and 9-inch size just because I don't want to get confused. I'm going to make the 3-inch size. And anytime I'm making any kind of block or quilt, I read through the whole pattern before I cut anything. So my first step is to make 2 A and E half square triangles. I always use triangles on a roll triangle paper when I'm making half square triangles. So if you're making the 3-inch size, you need H100, which is 1 inch finished. If you're making the 6-inch size, you need H200, which is 2-inch finished. And if you're making the 9-inch size, you need H300, which is the 3-inch size. So I just keep these papers and just use them as I need them. So I'm going to use this one. And on my instruction, it says I need 1 square. So I just cut 1 square off of here. So I'm going to do that first, and I'm going to kind of go in order of the pattern. So from here, I'm just going to cut one little piece off. And I'm going to cut as close as I can to that straight line. And the more accurate you cut the paper, the more accurate your result will be. And then I'll just set this aside. I use washi tape because it's easy to put it back together. So that is going to make this little section right here. So I'm going to put 2 fabrics, right sides together. Of course, the white's not really a right side. Put this in the corner. Cut. And then I'm going to put a little pin in here. So that's my A and E. So I'll put this over here on my design board, and I'll mark those off. This one is much more complicated than most blocks. Okay, so for your B and your G, Okay, this is how I do mine. Okay, let me find it. This is your B, and this is your G. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these squares, because you cut them on the diagonal once, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch bigger. I just go bigger, whatever I feel like at that moment. If I'm in a crazy mood, I'll do 1/2 inch. If I think I'm piecing really good, I'll only do 1/4 inch. So it depends how accurate I kind of am that day. So I'm going to cut the B and the G the same quantity. I'm just going to cut it bigger. And it's going to make sense when we get to this step right here and what I do. So for B, I need 2 1 7/8 inch squares. So I'm not going to cut 1 7/8. I'm going to cut 2. I'll just cut 2 1/2 because it's easier, because I just have the ruler right here and I don't have to think. And it doesn't have to be exact because I'm going to trim it down. And I think you probably can do this much easier with one of those fancy rulers. I kind of just did this years ago. It works, and so I just kind of do what works. So we're going to make 4 of these by cutting on the diagonal once. And if you were cutting 1 7/8 or whatever size you need for your pattern, you do have to be exact. But because I'm cutting mine 1/2 inch bigger, you don't have to be as exact. So that's my B. So I'll put that on my design board. Now my C and D, so my C and D, I'm not going to cut bigger. Those are this square and this square. So I'm just going to cut those just like it says. So 2 1 1/2. So here I'm going to kind of just do this. Cut from a corner. Cut 2 1 1/2 inch squares real quick. And that is going to be my C. Put that there. And then it says I need 4 1 inch squares. So from here, I'm just going to cut a 2 inch square. I usually just cut off the little edge. It's just easier. And from here, I can get 4 squares. So there's a 1. So here's 4 inch squares. So these are tiny. Ooh, these are going to be a booger to work with. Okay, so those are my D's. So from here, for my F, I just need 1 1 1/2 inch square, and that's not going to be adjusted at all because that's my center square. So I'll just cut it here. So I'm just using the lines on my ruler to cut the 1 1/2. And I am making sure that it looks pretty straight. So that is my F. Okay, now my G's are supposed to be 1 3/8. So I'm going to just cut those 2 inches just to make it easy so I don't have to think. I mean, I could do 1 7/8 or 1 3/4, but that's going to take longer to think about the math. So I'm just going to cut 4 2 inch squares. But I'm not going to cut on the diagonal because we're working with directional fabric. And because we're working with directional fabric, I'm not sure which way I need to cut. So I'm going to just cut 4 2 inch squares. And a lot of times when I do this, I end up having to cut more because of the directional fabric. I'll somehow make a mistake. So I'm just going to cut a couple. I might cut a couple extra just in case. And these are going to be bigger, so they don't have to be as exact. And anytime you're working with 3-inch blocks, I would definitely use a smaller print. That's why I picked the figs and shirtings, just because they are smaller prints. So I'm gonna cut these on the diagonal later because I need to see which way they go first. So to make things easy, I'm gonna just start with my half square triangle. And I'm gonna just stitch on my dotted lines. I'm gonna put my stitch length at like a 1.5. And I'm gonna, oops, cut myself. I'm going to just stitch right on that line, and I'll start a little bit before the paper. So I'll start a little bit out here so that when I pull the paper off, it doesn't pull the stitches out. And Nancy's asking how I keep my design board so clean. The ones I really use are at home, so those are dirtier. But you can clean them with a lint roller. So here I'm trying to just cut exactly on the edge. To pull the paper, I usually bend this back on the stitches and then just pull. And the shorter your stitch length, the easier your paper is going to come off. If you have a really long stitch length, when you start pulling this, it's going to start pulling your stitches. And on this program, we're just pressing everything open, so I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. And Leslie says, do you have a standalone video tutorial on how to cut bigger and trim down? It would be super helpful. Love, FQS. I don't, but I'm trying to teach all of that kind of in this tutorial, or all these little Sewcialites, but I can come up with something eventually. Hi, Kimberly, Jordan, and team. It's just after midnight in Australia. Oh, it's already the 22nd. Good morning from Ohio. I was wondering when Happy Days would arrive. Okay, yardage is available now. Pre-cuts will be June. What is your background fabric? So for this right here, I'm using Bella Solid 200. Okay, so you can see my iron wasn't very hot because see how it's kind of, it didn't lay flat. So I'm gonna do it again. Find my clapper. And it's just for some reason, I mean, it might be because it's small. I'm gonna put that on there. Good morning from Puerto Rico. Good morning. Oh, San Marcos, you're just right down the road. Could you share what color threads you're going to use with American Gatherings? Yes, I'm gonna use color 2600 thread. Now that one, somehow it's flatter. But see, that one's still not very flat. It just doesn't want to cooperate. So I'm actually going to just leave this clapper on those. I'm not going to cut the dog ears off. I'm just going to leave the clapper, and we'll come back and you'll see how it goes flat. So I'm going to try to just show you what we're going to be doing. So we're going to make this right here. That's a cat's cradle. And I'm just going to show you my way. I'm not saying it's the best way. It's just my way. Okay. So first you're going to take a fabric D square. I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to do, actually, I am going to just cut these and we're going to see what happens. I might have to just cut more. I'm just going to cut them once. All the same way. Hopefully they came out the same way. And you're going to lay these here. Now see how much bigger they are? Because it really needs to just be right there. But you're going to see how this works. So I'm going to keep all my I don't think they're going to end up all straight. Actually, I think some are going to be the opposite way, which I'm just going to go with for today. So they're going to be like that, and then our bees are going to go over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ignore these two for now. I'm going to just sew this to this. And when you sew it, if you're sewing it like normal, you would put this white square right at the very bottom. And it would be a 45-degree angle right there. But I don't want to have to worry about that because I'm going to trim this sucker down. So I'm going to put it a little bit further from the edge, and I'm going to do all four like that. So you're going to have a bunch over here. You need to have at least a 1/4 inch over here, and you're going to have a little bit over here because I'm going to trim it down. I'm going to do that on all four, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch foot. Now this method does waste a tiny bit of fabric. I'll move my stitch length back to like a 2.0. How did you decide on what Juki to purchase? Oh, I had a lot of friends that had this Juki, and that's how I decided. Any word on Be Patriotic? Oh, it's going to be 3 months. They had to put 3 more of the fabrics back in reprint, and it's just taking longer to get the fabric. So I've got these 4, and we're going to press them. And so these are nice and flat now. So you can see it does work. I'm going to just cut the little dog ears off really quick. Especially if you leave that clapper on overnight, it's amazing what it'll do. And I do have a funny picture to show you later how I was using the clapper this week. It's kind of funny. So on these, I'm just going to set my iron, set my seam, let it sit about 5 minutes. I mean 5 seconds. Oh my gosh, 5 minutes. That would burn the fabric. Press to one side, and then I'm going to press open. Can you use a layer cake for the American Gatherings Sew Along? No, it will definitely not be long enough for those flags. Now, if you wanted to do it for the stars that are within the flags, that will work, but it definitely will not work for the stripes on the flag. Are the American Gatherings Fat Quarter Bundles in stock? We received a partial shipment. We did not receive all of our shipments, so we're going to wait until they all come in, and Lisa Bonjean is going to not start the sew along until I receive that second shipment. So I'm going to text her to make sure. Will there be a layer cake for thatched? No. Once they do basics, when they start adding colors, unless they reprint that entire line all at one time, there are no pre-cuts. Let's see, I'm trying not to burn myself. Oh, thank you, Crafting a Plan Life. Maria says your cat's cradle technique has changed the way I cut, and so my points are on point now. Oh, good. Okay, I already answered that top one. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to go here, and this little section over here I'm going to leave. Don't touch that. Just where the triangle tip is, we're going to cut. And I'm going to try to make it as straight as possible. So I really want this to be straight with that white fabric, not the yellow, just the white, and then this is going to come off. So you don't want to just like nilly, you know, like just cut it off. Just, you do really want this white part to be straight for this little technique to work. So then this is your waist. It's not much. Now I do a lot of stuff like this when I'm working with small stuff because I would rather have nice points than choppy, ugly points. And I'm going to kind of show you some of the things I did this week. So now we're going to add this piece. So again, if you're doing it the traditional method, you want this right here to be straight across, right there. But I don't want to have to worry about that. I'm going to trim it down, so I'm going to do that. And as long as you have a 1/4 inch over here, you're totally fine. And that makes it super easy because you don't have to glue, you don't have to use Acorn Precision, you don't have to use Sue Daily glue, you don't even have to use pins. You just put it right sides together, let that yellow dip off, and sew. Now you do want this part to be an accurate 1/4 inch seam, but you don't have to worry about the tip here or here. So you can sew faster and still get accurate results. So I did do this technique this week with my Adita Sew Along. In fact, I did it last night. Will any of Lori's fabrics have a 2.5 inch pre-cut pack? Right now they don't, but she's in the chat, so she could always suggest it to Riley Blake. You could always get a 5 inch pack and then cut it down. Are you getting any more of the 1 yard bundles for the red Sew Along? Yes, it should be a while though, because one of the prints is out of print, so I would just buy it by the yard for now. Are you doing the Spring Brook Blossom Sew Along by Coriander Quilts? Coriander, yes, and I'm going to show it to you later today. I really like it. I think it's going to match my house actually. I'm always excited when a designer does something that actually matches my house. So I'm going to let that sit. Have you ever tried the swing away adjustable gauge for the Juki? No. Maybe I don't have any idea what that is. Let's see, so I'm gonna press to one side and then press open. How am I doing this morning? I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Hello, okay, Helsingborg, Sweden. Wow, that's far. Ow, I just burned myself. If I order the Lisa Bonjean kit, will you send the new directions? Yes, I'm working with her on that. So she announced either yesterday or the day before that her American flag pattern, she's rewriting the instructions based on feedback. So I will get new copies from her, and if you bought it, we'll reship it. If you bought the pattern or the kit, I just have to work with her on getting that. And my iron is super hot now. It's about to burn me. So put the little any updates on the low volume club? Yes, I have updates on all of this. Okay, the April club is not going to ship until mid to late June. 2 of the SKUs that we picked from Moda are not coming until June. So everything's kind of delayed, but we're on top of all of it. Like, we're being super super efficient on when it comes in, cutting it and getting it right back out. Okay, so from here we're going to add this, but obviously if you add that, it's not going to match the point. So I'm going to show you my little tip. You do need a little bit wider square. So you need a square that can go from here to here. So I'm going to get like a 4 inch and see if that's big enough. And it is. Okay. So this is the most important part, and this is what took me forever to learn. So on the Creative Grid square rulers, there's a diagonal line. So you take that diagonal line and you want to line it up with the straightness of that white square. Ignore the yellow. And you want this 1/4 inch to hit. But I don't like the angle of this because this one is not a dotted line. It's harder to see, so I'm going to flip it. So now I can see much better. And you have to really take your time doing this. So you've got your 1/4 inch right there, and you've got this white lined up. Now this yellow part, ignore, because we're going to cut it off later. And you want to make sure your hand is really firm because this is bias, and it'll move when you're cutting. And you want that to be straight across. Because if you don't hold your ruler, this will kind of move and you'll have a big old wave at the bottom. Ask me how I know that. So I just am really careful when I do this. So I put my 1/4 inch and my on the white, ignore the yellow. And you are wasting, but it's really not bad. I mean, I've been asked to make a baby quilt, no themes, but they've asked for it to include nudie peach fabric. Can you recommend any fabric lines? You know what? I think that Art Gallery has some really nice baby lines that have peach. The Hello Bear line has a lot of that color, and that would look nice. Okay, so from here, we're gonna do this. But since I cut them so big, I don't have to line up this side or this side because I cut it big enough. But before I do that, I'm gonna flip these over and you'll have a little thing right there. I don't know what you call that. It's like a little tip. You wanna get that cut off. If you don't cut it off, you're gonna have a big old bulk in the back. So, and if you forget, you can cut it off later. It's just harder after you sew. So from here, I literally just put these right sides together. Now, if I'm at home, I'll just stitch across. I don't even pay attention. But on camera, I'll go ahead and flip this over, stitch with this on top so that when my needle gets to the 1/4 inch, I hit right there. And this is 100% bias. So you've got all bias on the top and all bias on the bottom. And you're gonna notice I don't pin because nothing has to match up yet. And so my little point, my stitches match right in that point. And then we're gonna almost be done. We're gonna trim that down and then the block will almost be done. Oh, see, it's habit for me to do the white on top. Any idea on the Tula Pink Mad Hatters kit? Yes, it will be in 1 to 2 weeks. That fabric is arriving on next week early. How do you stop the alphabetties from sliding on your cut fabric? I'm just careful when I carry it, but you could use Wonder Clips if you wanted to. Okay, so now I'm gonna press these. And if you were making the bigger size, you would just do this same technique. Just cut your squares 1/2 inch bigger, or whatever your pattern calls for. So I'm gonna press to one side and then press open. What brand are your scissors? They are OmniGrid. So these are the scissors I've been using for probably 20 years. They're sharp, but you just really do have to be careful. I can't tell you how many times I have cut my fingers open. They are very sharp. And I'm not even joking when I say I probably have 20 pairs at home. Lori says, I don't consider it waste. It's just what's needed to make it accurate. So it's not wasted time or wasted fabric. What are the little sizes you are using? I'm using some small rulers. These are just Creative Grid small rulers. We sell a set from 2.5 to 6.5, but that's kind of what I use at home. Now from here, I will press open. What's a quick project for Father's Day? Oh, I think Layer Cake Lemonade would be great. And you could get some, like a plaid bundle or Shetland flannel or something from Robert Kaufman. I received my Sophie Jolly Bars. Is there a tutorial? I don't remember what we're doing with it. So on the back of your Jolly Bar, there's a free pattern. I don't think we're doing a sew along, but there is a pattern on the back. Will the book be included with the Layla Boutique quilt kit? So if you're talking about Rose and Bloom, that's a block of the month, and the book is included in the first month. If you're talking about a different one, just put your name of your kit so I can answer correctly. And I'm just going kind of slow here because there are a lot of seams in there. So the more seams you have, the longer it's going to take to get flat. Just curious on the state of the fabric industry. Do you think increased volumes due to demands for masks and new sewers will stay or will drop back down? I think it will drop back down. I mean, I think it'll still be slightly up, but it definitely will not stay the way it is right now. I was looking into getting an Aliso iron, but there have been reviews of it leaking. Is this a problem? I've had no. But I will tell you, with an Aliso iron, you cannot tilt this thing up. I'm not going to do it because it'll ruin it. As soon as you take this iron and tilt it this way, like a normal iron, it somehow messes with it. So you just have to always leave it down. Mine doesn't leak, but what I do is when you turn your iron on, it'll be red. Plug it in, and when it goes to green and it's not blinking, then touch it. If you start touching it before, your water's not hot enough. But this is the only iron that I use. What am I working on this weekend? Oh my gosh, I'm working on like a cajillion things. I'm gonna work on the red blocks for Lori. I'm gonna work on the Adita Sew Along, and I don't really know what else yet. I'll try to think of the other things that I'm working on. So from here, I know this needs to be 1.5. Now this is why I wanted a 1.5 inch ruler. Now Creative Grids is coming up with something that will work. It's not exactly a 1.5, but it is gonna make it work. So you want it to be 1.5 this way and 1.5 this way, and you want to be able to keep that diagonal. So 1.5 divided by 2 is 3/4 of an inch. So this needs to be 3/4 of an inch from here, from here, from here, and from here. And this is why I need a 1.5 inch ruler. Okay, so I'm using this diagonal line. I have the 3/4 inch line right here, and I'm going to cut these two sides. And then I'm going to measure 1.5 inch and hope that that works. And you just want to make sure that when you're cutting right here, that diagonal line on your ruler stays. So it's 1.5. It's gonna take you a little bit to get used to doing it. It's not easy. If you were doing it 2.5, it'd be easy because on the Creative Grids, it's got the white lines, and that white line would just touch right there, but there isn't a 1.5. So again, diagonal line, 3/4 of an inch in, and actually it just hit right there. So you just cut, hold on, I gotta, so it comes out perfect. It just takes a little time. You just have to go slow. I'm not going to answer any questions right now just so I don't make any mistakes. So 3/4 of an inch, that diagonal line straight. There are a lot of seams in this, so you can see it rocks. The ruler rocks, so you have to kind of really hold it. So I haven't messed one up yet, so that's good. Because sometimes when I do these, I cut them wrong. I mean, it does happen. So just take your time. So 3/4 of an inch. And then, 1.5. Now we can lay our block out. So I'm gonna kind of put that there, and then we're just gonna lay everything out. So we have a half square triangle with the yellow down, cat's cradle, white square, cat's cradle, fabric F, cat's cradle. You just make sure you got the cat's cradle going the right way. Okay. Ooh, and I got all my lines going the same way. So when I cut I actually just got lucky, because sometimes this would have come out the other way, but I just got lucky today. And honestly, that's what I do. I just kind of guess, and then if I like it, I leave it. If I don't, I redo some. So from here, you just sew with a 1/4 inch seam, press, sew with a 1/4 inch seam, press, and then go back over. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Now, I do have to pin at this point because I'm not trimming down anymore. So I do pin. What is my favorite go-to iron? I use Aliso, and I use the yellow one. So here I could move this way, but it'll look funny, so I'm gonna go this way. When did you see those two? When you see those two, do you center the little blocks on the white half square triangle? When I sew those two, do I center the little white block onto the white half square triangle? I don't know how to answer that. Let's see. Ask me again, Sally. Okay. So I'm going to go down this. Will you be doing any live events over the summer? No, I'm not doing any live events. Just on YouTube, that's live. Let's see. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just add this side so I don't have to worry about it. I'm just gonna do that and then pin it, and then we'll press it all at one time. When a sew along is created with multiple designers like Sewcialites, do the designers coordinate with the group giving the blocks, or does everyone contribute a random block? So with Sewcialites, they contribute a block, and then we just pick different collections that go with it, and then they can sew whatever they would like with it, and usually they just sew their fabric collection with it. What size needle do I use? I use an 80 Microtex, just plain. But I do not have the patience for such small items. Can we make them larger? Yes, that pattern comes with 9-inch instructions. My son didn't want to go to school today, but I was like, oh no, you're going to go. Today is my show day. Oh, that's so funny. My kids still have another week of school. A lot of people are already out, but they still have another week. Okay. So it just came unthreaded. I'm going to rethread it. Could you use the 1.5 by 6-inch ruler? Yes, you can. And Creative Grids is actually adjusting that ruler to have some more lines so that it will work better for me. So when that comes out, I'm going to demo that. So we'll start again. And I think it came unthreaded because I air sewed. I didn't have anything under my foot. That's why I think it did that. So now I'm going to just look at it, make sure it looks right. And it does. So now I'm going to iron. And on this one, you can just iron. I'm going to iron all to one direction and then press open just to make it easier. So I do want to set my seams, so I'll put the iron here without moving the iron over here to mess up these seams. Have you ever used a Laura Star iron? No, I've never even heard of it actually. Is the Christmas morning fabric coming later? Yes, all of the fabric is coming later, but that is coming a lot later. It's coming in July. I do have an update at the end with all the deliveries that are being a little bit late. So then set your seam and then press. Sandy says, I made a 4-inch cat's cradle using Kimberly's technique and they came out beautiful. I was so pleased. Yay, thank you. I cut my fabric using an Omni grip ruler. Can I square up using Creative Grids rulers? Yes. Where can I comfortably purchase a Juki and know that I have the support of the purchase I placed from? We don't sell Jukis, but I bought one from Lisa Bonjean at Primitive Gatherings, but I don't know what kind of service they offer. I mean, I have no idea. So you could call them. They're in Wisconsin and they do have a store in California. So I'm kind of letting it cool before I put that iron back on. I love the new packing boxes you're using for shipping fabric. Oh, thank you. For Father's Day, I made the well-suited pillow from the Jolly Jabber. It's so cute. Yeah, it is cute. It's a little tie pillow. I'm going to kind of let that cool. It's getting really hot. Do you know when the mystery fabric will ship? Yes, late. It will be late June, early July. That fabric is, it actually, July. Probably not June, probably July. Please tell the people in the back, thank you for doing all of the cutting for our block kits. It has to take a lot of time. Yes, we will tell them. Yes, it does take them a lot of time. Okay, now I'm going to go back over. The iron's just getting really hot, and if I go too fast, I'm going to burn myself. Today is my birthday and 23-year anniversary, getting caught up on Sewcialites so I can be ready for my road trip to Dallas. Thank you for spending the day. Yes, thank you. Thank you for watching. It says, Kimberly, will you have all of the quilt kits that come with Lori's cookbook collection? Yes, and they're all online now. As either one is pre-sold and 2 are coming soon. And so I'm going to just let this sit here a little bit. Our cat Mufasa and I read to classrooms via Zoom right before live stream. So as soon as the book and questions finish, we watch Kimberly. Aw, it's a little kitty. Did you say when Aliso iron is arriving? They keep moving the date. I would say like September, October, like super far away. If you can find one anywhere, buy it. Hi from Waco. Any quilters from Waco? I need a quilt buddy. So you can see how flat that is. And you're gonna have better results if you take the time to get it nice and flat before you start putting it together, because stuff's not jumping up and getting in the way. So from here, I'm just gonna put these right sides together, pin, and so I am gonna cut apart after I pin so that when I press open that seam that's sitting there, that little stitch won't get in the way. I'm so excited for cookbook from Lori. I love it. Yes, we have gotten so many comments that people love it. And if you want to see it up close, she did a video on it last Friday on her YouTube channel, which is Lori Holt. I'm going to be making my first Lori Holt quilt. When doing the blocks, do you cut your backing fabric into smaller 1 or half yard pieces to make it easier? Okay, background fabric, I cut them into half yard sections to make it easier, and starch in half yard increments. When will Sew Sampler subscription be open again? I'm not sure. We just get on the wait list. I don't actually know on that one. And luckily everything matches. So my point matches there. And hopefully all my little directional prints are going the same way. Will you have Jolly Bars for cookbook? We can do it. Lori, design me a quilt to go in it and we'll do it. And we'll tell Jocelyn. We can do it. We can do it. So the Bats and Boos won't begin in July, no problem. I just like to plan ahead. Correct. It will. We don't know when it will start. So when we did the blog, we intentionally did not put dates because at this point we have no idea and we don't want to post a date and then change it 10 times. Okay, this one I actually have 2 points that need to match. That one and that one. Actually, it did over there too. I just didn't notice it. I'm going to put a poke pin to make sure it matches, but the other one just luckily matched. So just put my pin in that little point. I watched Lori's trunk show and she has heavier weights. Will you be carrying those? Yes. We do have all of her existing 6 SKUs in stock now, and we will have all the others. Anything Lori's we always have, and we always keep it on order. We never discontinue it until the manufacturer does. She's one of the few designers we do that with. So that looks pretty good. I have a big old string back here. So I'm going to iron it and then we'll trim it down and then I'll answer any questions you guys have on Cat's Cradle, half square triangles, anything. I'm happy to answer any of it. And I'm so happy that you're watching me, and just please, if you like what I do, great. If you don't, you can always send suggestions. Can I see close up of your pin trick? Okay, go to the beginner series and I have some up close pieces, but next week I'll do it really up close. But I basically just poke it in this point and this point, but I'll show it in detail next week. I'm kind of new. Are you sewing a scant 1/4 inch? Okay, so this kind of can be controversial. I have always just sewn with a 1/4 inch seam. I didn't know that scant 1/4 inch was a thing because when I learned, there was no internet, no chat rooms, no, none of that. So I didn't know that was a thing. So I've just always used a 1/4 inch foot or 1/4 inch seam. Now some people do the scant, do whatever you think gives you the best results. Miss Rosie does everything with a scant 1/4 inch. I think I just sew too fast for it and I never really needed it to. So I just never, I didn't really know it was a thing. Okay, so see right here, that got a little crookedy, so I'm gonna fix it. Now when I'm sewing at home, sometimes I'll let that stuff go. It just depends. So I'm just gonna let it sit. Then I'm gonna trim it around to get it nice and straight. So because there are so many pieces in this block, I mean this has 4 pieces within a little 1 inch circumference or 1 inch area, you start seeing all these little threads come off. That's totally normal. The more pieces you have, the more shredding you will have. So from here I'm just going to make everything straight. I make sure my 1/4 inch on my ruler touches the points. And I'm just cutting it so that it's square and really just to get the little strings off. Now this won't really matter because I'm going to make these pin cushions. So when you make them pin cushions, it's not going to really matter. But I'm just doing it because it makes me feel good. Now that one is, ooh, that's a big old curve, look. But that's okay. So there it is in small, 6 inch. And you can do the same exact thing with 9 inch. So with 9 inch, you would use the H300 squares, half square triangle paper from Triangles on a Roll. When you cut these, you just cut these 3 pieces 1/2 inch to 1 inch bigger. Leave this square the correct size. Okay, and so I'm going to sit and answer questions. Okay, Rose is asking, who is Miss Rosie? So Miss Rosie, her name is Carrie Nelson. She has lots of martingale books, and she started out her business at the same exact time as Fat Quarter Shop. So about 18 years ago, and she has a pattern company called Miss Rosie's Quilt Company. And now she works for Moda Fabrics doing social media and designing a lot of Moda quilts. On the small blocks, do you press open? Okay, so on this program, we decided to press open because we have a lot of blocks that touch. But personally, I get a much better result when I press open when you get really small. So if I'm doing a 3-inch block, I'm gonna always press open. If I do a 6-inch block, I'm gonna just decide as I go. And a 12-inch block, I will just decide as I go. What are you making with your 3-inch squares? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, put batting behind it, and quilt it somehow. Put a backing fabric, quilt it, put it right sides together, and make it a pin cushion. And the instructions on how I'm doing it are in the brand new Scrapbook of Quilts book by Joanna and Carrie. Why did it curve? Okay, so it just curved. That's gonna happen. It is, you're working with fabric, and I probably just somehow over here didn't take the right exact seam or something. So that happens. Do the majority of fabric manufacturers get their fabric printed overseas? All of them do. What are you filling the pin cushion with? I'm not gonna actually use it as a pin cushion, but I'm gonna either use walnut shells or stuffing. I guess it depends. If I remember, then I'll take the walnut shells home. If I forget to place an order, then I'll just use stuffing because I do have stuffing at home. So it kind of depends when I get to it. Gwen says, are you going to show us how to make the pin cushions? Maybe use the Carrie Nelson Pin Pals book. So actually the instructions are in the brand new Scrapbook of Quilts, and I'm gonna just follow that. And I could do a tutorial if y'all really wanted it. I'm not great at sewing. So one thing I'm gonna admit is I'm not great at quilting. I'm not great at anything that's like sewing. If it's a quilt, boy, I can do it. If it is like starts getting into a pleat or something like that, I'm not as great. So I get a little bit nervous. Not that I can't do it, but I don't want to show you the wrong way, so I'm always a little bit nervous that I'm going to do something wrong when I'm doing sewing versus quilting. Serendipity warning. I was an eager beaver and sewed the rows together before I realized there's a horizontal sashing between the rows. Am loving... Can you click into it? I'm loving this pattern. Yeah, I think it's okay. Just leave it. I think it'll be fine, and you can see the quilt behind me. Just make your side borders shorter and your top border shorter. It'll be fine. I would just make it a smaller quilt. It'll be totally fine. I love the way you pick up your pins with a magnetic pin holder. Thank you. Oh, a little pillow for Piggy. Oh, I think this would be way too small for Piggy. This might be a little blanky for him, though. When does the book Kaleidoscope come out? Okay, it went to the printer last week. It should be here in June. It's being printed right now. So probably on our social media, once our printer, they'll send us photos of it on the printer, we'll show it. Does Lori's Chicken Salad Sew Along use cheater blocks for the chickens? No, they use applique. But if you are a piecer, there's gonna be something that we do. So you can look forward to that. Can you state the triangles on a roll you use for half square triangles? So what we're gonna do in the future is any pattern that we publish, we're gonna put the size. And so next time when we do Sewcialites, we'll add the size. Are you excited for school to be over? Any funny stories today? School to be over. No, I think they like school. They like the structure. Sometimes 3 boys in one house can be a lot because they like to wrestle. Funny stories. Let me think. Well, one of my sons almost had to go to the emergency room, but I think I've already told that story. I know that wrestling's coming on tonight. We're not allowed to go to dinner on Friday nights in our house because it's WrestleMania or something. I don't know. I just know at 7 o'clock, I shut the door in my sewing room and lock it. Because in the middle of the wrestling thing, they'll come in there and be like, oh, so-and-so, da-da-da-da. And they interrupt my dateline, so I have to lock them out because like one of my sons likes one of the wrestlers and one of them likes the other, and I'm just so confused on all of it. I tried the starch method. I used yardage. When finished my quilt, it didn't lay flat. Why? I'm not sure. I would just make sure when you're pressing, take your time. Maybe use the clappers and set your seams before you go. Your thoughts on the Sewcialite machine. Okay, so I'm actually really liking it. I finally, after having it 3 or 4 years, I know how to use it for sure. It took me like a really long time to just really understand it because the way that it works is it only uses thread from the bobbin. And I just realized you have to go really slow, and so I really like it. You just have to get used to it. Can you tell us when you will be doing live streams, what projects? So for now, we're doing Sewcialites until it ends in a couple of weeks. And then from there, I might do some live streams on the couch. So they'll be a little bit more casual. I might do some demos. I'm just going to kind of play it by ear. Christmas morning Jolly Bar. Will you show the pattern? Yes. I don't have it with me today, but yes, when it comes out, I'll show it. Because you press your seams open, what stitch length do you use? I use like a 1.7. So that's a good question. I will say that I think my stitch length is a little small because it is very hard to take my stitches out. What color thread is Serendipity quilted with? Okay, so Gina quilted that. I believe it's like a light gray. I do know she uses glide thread, and she can probably answer you with the exact color that she used. Kimberly, I love your top. What brand is it? Talbot's. Use your Sewcialite machine to quilt your pincushions. Yeah, that's a great idea. Is there a Lori Holt cookbook pattern book? Not yet. Is there going to be a Liberty box? Yes. Will it be late? Yes. I love Friday mornings with you and a cup of coffee. I'm taking notes. Oh, thanks for watching. Can we sew bats and boos from our stash? Yes. And we will list fabric requirements once all of the fabric comes in. So, yes, you can. Will Kimberly be sewing along on the chicken salad quilt? Yes, I will. I am going to do something a little bit different, but I'm going to let Lori announce that. Kimberly, do you sell Lori's Scrappy Project Planner? It's out of print, but we are working on something right now that you will love, so just look forward to that. I've been watching you for 7 years, and I want to thank you, Kim. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Thank you for watching. We have twin 17-year-old boys, and we call one of them the frequent flyer at the emergency room. Okay, so the joke in my house, and I'm not kidding, I told the boys, if you go to the emergency room, I'm not taking you, your dad's taking you. Because boys want their mama to take them. And as soon as he hit his head, I was like, well, your dad's going to take you. And he was like, no. And I was just like, well, then you should behave. I mean, I would have taken him, but. What is a Sewcialite machine? So it's a machine by Baby Lock, and there's 2 versions. I have the first version, and it just puts long. I'm going to actually show you in a little bit some stitches that it does. What is a Jolly Bar? It is a 5 by 10 inch rectangle that has 40 rectangles exclusive to Fat Quarter Shop, and it's basically half of a layer cake or double of a charm pack, and they come with free patterns. Do I ever use the Creative Grids Cat's Cradle Ruler? So I have used it before, but I don't have it at home, and so when I do Cat's Cradle, I just do the method I just did. When will Peppermint Lane Stitch Along start? The quilt was my first kit I ever finished from start to finish. July. Will the Fat Quarter Club Spooky Hollow be enough fabric for the bats and boos? I'm not sure. I don't want to guarantee that. Is the Bats and Booze sold out? No, it hasn't come in yet. And so we're going to release all of that when it comes in. Usually we release everything way in advance. This time it's just going to be a shorter run time because we're just working with getting the fabric late. Will the June Sew Sampler go out in June? Is it possible June and May will go together? They will both be late, I believe, and what happens is once they all come in, they go out. We don't combine them together. And I mean, I don't have a date on either. Your wish is my command, Lori says. Okay, so she'll do the Jolly Bar, and that's probably an answer to another question too. I am too. I want everything she has out for cookbook. It is gorgeous, reminds me of growing up. When you take the cat's cradle block and sew it to the white, do you center it before sewing, then trim it down? Let me look at that again. Okay, so when I add this white piece right here, I don't center it. I just move my yellow slightly down. Now, yeah, I don't center it. I just make sure I have a tiny bit down here, and I make sure I have more than a 1/4 inch up here. Do you still have magnetic pin holders? So if you search Grab It, we do have some. It's not the Fat Quarter Shop one. We're working on doing a new one for that. Where is the beginner series? I'm brand new. So if you go to our channel, there is a just go to our channel, Fat Quarter Shop, and then click under the playlist, and there is a beginner series. I'm doing my very first mystery block quilt for 2020 and can't believe how much fabric I have left over. Also, did the 12th block ship? I'm hoping I didn't misplace it. So when we do mystery block of the months or any kind of block of the month your kits here, we do give a little bit extra fabric because if you miscut, we want you to have a little bit left over so you don't have to call us and buy a little square. What was the other part of that question? Oh, block 12, it shipped this week. For the cat's cradle, why can't it be a flying geese block with a triangle on top? Because a flying geese, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Let's see, flying geese. I guess you could, but I've never done that. That would be kind of, yeah, I have no idea. You could do that. I just don't know the math to do that. I made 3 Petty 4 baskets using your video with Annie. They are so cute. Oh, thanks for making them. That's a fast, free video. Want to give a shout out to Deborah, who always helps me with the requests or answers to my questions. She's a keeper. Yes, she is. We'll let her know. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next section. I'm going to show you, we did a photo shoot earlier this week where we rented a house and we took the flea market quilts, table runners, and pillows and did a photo shoot. In the book, there are 12 basket blocks that finish at 15 inches. There are borders there are 4-inch blocks that go around the border, and the quilt finishes at 90 inches. We have where you can click to be notified when it comes in. The book will come in July, and next week I'm going to actually show you all the quilts in person, but now I'm going to show you just different photos that will be in the book. So this is the big quilt on the bottom, that's 90 inches. So those little flower blocks that go around, those are all 4 inches. This uses the flea market collection from Lori. So again, there are 12 basket blocks and then that center block. And then those pillows all finish at 20 inches, and those are made from the baskets in the quilt with corner squares around them or extra fabric around them. So that's the quilt and 4 of the pillows. Those are the 3 table runners. And all of those we have kits, and Gina quilted all of those for us. And all of them have that vintage trim, which is Lori's rickrack. And those are all of the pillows against the house. And there's a really beautiful oak tree in front of that house. And some pillows. I love that. So I want to make that table runner. So when this book comes out, we're going to do a sew along, and I will sew along the quilt, and Lori's going to sew along and show it on her channel too. And we always get a vintage machine. So this time we actually had 2 machines for the photo shoot. So that is all of the flea market flower fabric and some of her little notions and stuff. So just make sure to check back next week, and we will show you all the quilts in person. Oops. And I wanted to show you next, I'm going to show you Lori Holt's red sampler. This is on her blog. I'm going to show you her 3 blocks first. Those are the 3 blocks she made this week that she showed on Monday. So the block on the left is the 6-inch cross stitch Farm Girl block from page 37 of Farm Girl Vintage 2. The block in the middle is the 12-inch Butter Churn Farm Girl Vintage block, page 15 of Farm Girl Vintage. And the block on the right is from Vintage Christmas Book, page 23, 6-inch sidewalks. So we'll start with her 12-inch, or one of her blocks, and then I'll compare it to my block. So that is the Butter Churn block, and you can see she has a floral on the outside, a medium on the center, and a dark on the inside. I actually didn't have any of those fabrics. So this is my block. And I use this fabric from Flea Market, which is actually that book that I just showed you. It's from that collection. This is also from Flea Market. And this is, I think, Farm Girl Vintage or something. So I kind of kept with the same theme she was doing. And then her next block is, let's see, this is the cross stitch block. So this one took the most time. It's 6 inches, so that's 32 corner squares. And on this one, she has 2 dark and like 2 kind of medium, and I didn't have those fabrics either. On this one, let's go back to this one. This one I just pressed the outsides all open because I felt like that would give me a better result. On this one, I pressed all my corner squares open, but then pressed my rows to one side. So technically you could have just pressed them all opposing. I just felt like that was going to be too much work and too much bulk on the front. So that is that block. So I actually made these last night. And then her last block is the City Sidewalks block. And super easy. So on this one, I was able to get close to her fabrics. I do try to copy her fabrics. So I actually have 3 of the fabrics, I think. So if you look at my block, I have the same center, the same background. This is close. And then this right here is from the brand new Stitch collection that I have sample yardage of. So if you want to follow her, she has this on her blog every Monday. And it's a combination of 12-inch blocks and 6-inch blocks using her books that we publish. And so I can't wait to make next week's. The last two of them that I made last week, I still am unsure. One I think I'm going to remake, and one I'm definitely going to redo the center. So when I do that, I will definitely bring that for you to see what I do. And I can show you real quick the books that she used. So these are 2 of the books, and then this is the other book. So she tells you each Monday on her blog post what book it's in, what page number, and what size, and you can use your scraps of red fabric. The next thing I worked on last weekend is I took the Sew By Row block of the month that I signed up for, and these are the little tomato pin cushions. So I sewed them in a row. So last week I showed you the blocks, and then I sewed them in the row. They're from Lori's book, and she recolored them in her Bee Basics and some of her Prim collection, and I got it all sewn together. And once I sewed it together, I did use my ruler to make it nice and straight. And this one does have some embroidery, but I think I'm probably going to leave it off. So, or I could mail it to Lori and have her do it, but I'm not great at that. So I did work on that. Another thing I worked on is my swirling stars. So for 2021, I am using this pattern, which is completely free, and you can download it at Fat Quarter Shop. It's a combination of 22-inch blocks and 11-inch blocks, and I'm using leftover fabric from everything that I make through the year. I have half done, so about 3 weeks ago I showed you that. I made these 2 blocks last weekend. So this is one of the small blocks, and I used all of my leftovers from the Rose and Bloom block of the month that I sewed the week before. Now, I was short 2 fabrics, so I pulled some fabrics from Nest, which I had a little bit left over of. So that's a smaller block, and then this is my big block. And what I'm trying to do here is I just use whatever background I have, but I'm trying to use each of the prints only once. So I am keeping a note of kind of everything, but I should be able to finish this by like September, and then I'll start planning the 2022 quilt. So that's fun, and this didn't take me very long. Super fun. And then the last thing I worked on last weekend is this free sew along. It's called Spring Brook Blossoms. It's hosted by Corey Yoder, and we're on block 2. There are 2 of these blocks. This is a completely free pattern on her blog. I am using her Spring Brook fabric collection for the flowers, and then I used yardage for this, and I used 20708-36 for this one, and that will be back in stock in a couple of months. It's a Moda that I like. Now when I use this, I used H200 half square triangles for these, and then when I made these, I did a strip set, so I kind of brought one to show you, and you can see it's short because I'm using a layer cake. And if they're 1.5, let's see what size they are. Yeah, they're 1.5 wide. I cut this 1 3/4 inch wide, and then I trim it down and chop it up so that I don't have to sew, stop, sew, stop, sew, stop, sew, stop. I just sew, trim, 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 trim. I did make sure on this one that I kept my stripes all going the same way. And there are going to be 12 blocks total, and it's completely free. You can use your stash, and she does have fabric requirements and everything that you need on her blog, which we have linked below. And then I am going to answer questions before I move to my next section. And I'm going to do super chats. So Piggy says thank you to Marianne Lucas. Sheba Dog saying good job while raising his thumbs up. Oh, that's cute. Betty Williams, thank you, Kimberly, for all the steps and info you provide. You are such a beautiful lady. Thank you. Well, thank you. Monty Pep says, love your live streams. Thank you. And Valeria Bauer gave us a super pair. So thank you. And Shelly Murphy says, thank you for all you do. I made a block with striped fabric and the lines all matched. I learned it from you. Awesome. So let's see. What is the white dot background fabric? It's 20708-36. It is from the On the Farm collection. I did a reprint just for our shop where it will come in about 3 months so that we will have that, because I love that white and I need more for me too. What is the blue check material called on your big block? Blue check. Okay, so I'll just show you a couple blue checks. I don't know. This one is from Be Basics. This one is from Homestead by Moda. And these are all Spring Blossom. So let me know if I didn't answer that and I can pull out a block. Do you have fabric requirements for the flea market kit? Yes, we are actually proofing the book right now, and that will come out once the book is published. What fabric collection did you use for Swirling Stars? So for Swirling Stars, that is leftover from the Rose and Bloom block of the month that I did. This fabric is called Love Note. But the goal of this is to use leftovers. So these are all leftover from when I was in the block of the month. And I just had to pick the ones. First, what I did is pick the ones I had big pieces left of. And then this one is the ones that I had less of. And two of these fabrics are from one of her previous collections. I can't remember exactly. I think it's this one and this one. These are from Nest because I didn't have enough left. I didn't have enough. I want one fabric each, so I need 28, and I only had 26 fabrics. So, and it's meant to just be scrappy, but I do have to have a little bit of control over the scrappy for my craziness. I think it's interesting where people choose to spend the extra time. Kimberly likes cutting, so she trims a lot. Yes, I do. I love to trim. When will you be starting the sew along for Peppermint Lane quilt? So the Peppermint Lane quilt came out a couple years ago, so we're not going to do a sew along with that one, but we still have the book. The fabric is discontinued. When will stitch fabric be in? July, and I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. Has Sew By Row Block 2 shipped? Yes, shipped last week. Does Fat Quarter Shop sell a drying rack? No, but in our Amazon shop, we have a link to the one that I use. Actually, I use two different ones, and that's the best place to get it, or Walmart. And I would suggest just getting a cheap one, plastic, just plain. When starching, can you not iron it right away? You can. It just takes a lot more time that I don't have. I used to kind of do that. I would love to see more table runner sew-alongs. I don't have a need for a lot of quilts. Can some of the upcoming sew-alongs be made into runners? So it kind of just depends. When we're doing the flea market, you could sew along with us and just do the table runner. We did just do the Jolly Bar as a table runner. This could be done as a table runner where, like for example here, when you're looking at it, you could put another small block here and it just be a big block, two small blocks. And then repeat, big block, two small blocks. So any of the quilts that we do, you can always do a sew along and just make it simpler. Is Urban Gatherings 2 delayed? Yes. Probably everything is probably 1 to 2 months delayed. Is there a churn dash kit for Lori Holt Table Runner? Yes, there will be a kit and it will come out once the book comes out. Who makes all the pieces that you use for the photo shoots? I'll tell you. So can I see the flea market book real quick? I'm going to actually show you. So now this is not the book. This is my little prototype. This is actually several weeks old. Anytime you look in it, It's So Emma book, it's going to tell you right here. So we give credit to the designer, which is Lori. I'm the editor-in-chief. Sarah is the one that puts the books together. Copy editors, those are the people that will proof the book. The makers will be all of the people that sew every quilt within here. The quilter will either be 1 or 2 quilters, and then we have photographers and photography assistants. Now this book was printed like 2 weeks ago, so it's not filled in, but we do give credit here on every book. And so on this book specifically, I don't want to say who sewed, because if I say, I'm afraid I might leave somebody out, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So but it's always in our books. Can we join Sew By Row now? Yes. And you'll get month 1 and 2. Maisie says, Kimberly, can you tell me what fabrics you're using for the Riley Blake sew along? I love the light pastel pink, blue, and taupe. Yes, we have that on our blog somewhere. I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. And it's all from her Prim fabric collection. So if you just search her Prim fabric collection, you'll be able to see it. Actually, I have that list on my desk. Can you grab my little blue quilting book? And then I can read it when we get there. Do you have any more white on white background you use so much? It is being reprinted, so hopefully we'll have it soon. I had so much fun quilting all of those pillows. Oh, so Gina quilted all of the pillows, so that's awesome. I'm currently working on starry checkers and wondering if there's enough fabric to use triangles on a roll. Yes. The Ultimate Beginner series is awesome. It helped me improve my skills so much. Also a beginner. Yay, thank you. Any updates on Quilt Market? Okay, so Quilt Market is supposed to be happening in Houston, Texas in September, October, November, so that is coming back. The spring one did not happen. Gina, I'm loving all of the new shipping notification system. I have a box on my way. Yay, I'll tell Kevin. Kevin did all that. Having received the Bright Side fabric kit, is there a problem if I start making some of the finishing blocks? No, I think you should be able to make them. I love how much fabric I get with the mystery. Thank you. I love that your kits have extra fabric. I'm new to cutting and make a lot of mistakes. Oh, awesome. Me too. So I'm going to move and show you something that I came up with. Actually, I didn't come up with any of this. Susan Aki did. So this is a brand new book that just came out by Martingale. So this is how it comes. And this is, Denise took it to Kinko's and we just got it bound. So it is $5. Super inexpensive, so that when we're sewing with it, it'll lay flat. I'm not going to show you the instructions. It'll lay flat for you. So anytime you have any kind of book that doesn't have a spiral bound that you want, super easy, and this will help you. So she is going to be having a sew along, and all of the information on Susan Aki's sew along with this book, Sampler Spree, that's published by Martingale, is hosted on the Moda Fabrics blog. There are lots of blog posts on there. So I'm going to give you a little tease of what I'm doing. This is going to be like a little tease of what I'm doing. And this is also, okay, so yes, that's a fabric. So that's my house. That is me and Lori. We had my phone, like, see where the rulers are? I had my phone propped up, and we picked all the fabrics for the first 2 months, or the first 2 weeks. So it's going to start June 16th. A week before June 16th, Susan is going to announce on the Moda blog the colorways for the next week and the block numbers on June 16th. And then you're going to have a scavenger hunt through the book to see what to make that week. And you'll be making 10 to 12 blocks each week. So this is what Lori and I did. This is literally Lori. We picked block 68, fabric B, and it's the red piece. So Lori helped me, thank goodness, she helped me pick all of the first 2 weeks, which, because I really need help. So this is her brand new stitch fabric that comes out in July. And so what I'm going to do, I'll show you when I get to one of the last pieces. This is how I cheat. Now I was wondering last night where all my pins were, and this is where they are, because I was wondering where they are. So what I'm going to do when I get home tonight, I started with a 1/2 yard piece, because this is what Riley Blake sent me as sample yardage. What I'm going to do when I get home, I'll cut this piece off, and that piece is probably a fat 1/8 or something, 1/2 a fat 1/4, something like that. I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to starch it, let it dry. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start piecing, and I will show you the background. But this is kind of something that you can do, like if you want to sew it with your friend and sew along, you can do like a little FaceTime and pick your fabrics and get advice from someone else. So I'm just showing you all of her fabrics. So not all of them have little stickers on them yet because we haven't picked them yet. But I am going to starch all of these. And this is the background from the group. And all this is messy, but I haven't had time to. I'm going to so like when we start getting back into, see, but that's like my drawing of, there's an arrow. See, there's an arrow that says, oh, right there. This is literally my chicken scratch. And you can see this one I already cut off because that's what I used in my block last night. So I cut a little piece off already. So I'm gonna kind of start this, and my diagrams are great, aren't they? But I just thought this would be fun to show. But yes, Lori, thank you. I need to send her flowers or something for picking my fabrics, because Lord knows I can't do it by myself. And then this one, she loved that one. I'm using that, how many times? 7 times. But this is how I come up with stuff, and this is the background that we're going to use, because Lori's going to do this with me also. Oh, there's more fabric. Hold on. This is the background I'm going to use. This background is C9940-pewter. And as I lay the fabrics, you'll see how it matches really well. This one I have 2 pieces of. It's really the same fabric, but I somehow have 2. And I have it all divided by colorway. This would also make a great background. I think it would be a little too busy for the 6-inch blocks for all of them, but I'm gonna definitely use it. I like this one. And then brown. So you can see we had fun picking. It did take about 2 hours. So that is her new stitch collection. Now this starts June 16th and the fabric's not going to come out till July. But since I've used all of her other fabrics, that's what I wanted to use. So definitely go to Moda Fabrics blog and you will see all the information you need on that. The next thing I'm going to show you is my Riley Blake block challenge. And this is block 9 Patch Star, block 12. So there are 16 blocks. This is 100% free. You can find this pattern on Riley Blake blog, the Riley Blake Fabrics block. This is block 12. So there's 4 more after this. There's going to be 16 blocks that finish at 10 inches square, and then after that they will release the finishing, and I will do the finishing the same way. Now I do want to show you on this one, I pieced my block differently. So I'm going to show a little pop-up of kind of how I laid my fabrics out so you could visually see it. So I decided that in that top row, instead of doing one rectangle with corner squares, to go ahead and do half square triangles. And I used H200. And so here, when you look at it, this right here is written as a rectangle right here. But I do feel like if I use half square triangle paper, I'm going to get a better result, and this point's going to automatically match, and that's going to automatically match. And then I just sewed them into rows. Now the sashiko stitch is on top. I got that idea from Bev McCullough. It's very hard to see, but they're little pink stitches that I put on top. And I just did it for decoration. So this is a great way to see that there are free tutorials out there, and you don't have to do it exactly like it says. I feel like if I had to get that to match perfectly, that's a little hard. I know this is gonna have cut up fabric, but I know my points are gonna match better. So change it however you feel fit. And the fabrics that I'm using in this are, this is 9710 Pebble. These are all from the Prim fabric collection. For the sea glasses, I use 9698 Sea Glass, 9704 Coral, and 9697 Pebble. For the sashing, I'm going to use 2 different fabrics, 9694 Sea Glass and 9702 Pebble. My binding is going to be 9694 Sea Glass, and my backing is going to be 9694 Sea Glass. Actually, my binding is going to be 9698 Sea Glass. So you can take a screenshot of this. And I kind of put, I'm using 28 weight Aurifil 2423 for this little stitch. And we can also post a photo of this on our social media later today. So let me know. I'm gonna answer questions before I go to my next thing that I sewed on. So thank you, Sally Johnson. Piggy says thank you. She sent a super chat. Finally got to what the latest live you did last week. Went back to emails and customers. And I have been a customer since 2011, loving FQS. You and your staff are amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. What book is that? Your project organizer. Okay, so this, I have one of these for quilting and one of these for cross stitch. It's called the Quilting Journal. And what I do in here, I list it will hold 50 projects. Okay, so I've already started 24 quilts this year. If there's a check mark, that means it's finished. And with each one, I put the name, the designer, when I started, when I ended, fabric collection, size, any kind of block details. I try to put as many details as I can on the fabrics and, you know, any kind of information that I think I might need to go back to, and it keeps track of where I'm at. So for example, I have 5 large blocks and 9 small blocks done, but you need 8 and 16. So I just keep all of my notes. And so like this, I've listed every single collection that I'm putting in that Scrappy Stars collection. And the reason, now if I was just sewing for fun, I don't really need this, but I need it for live streams so that I can go back and tell you what I've done. So I just keep, and like here, I haven't decided what SKU I'm gonna use, so I need to add it. I just keep notes of where I'm at, and it helps me. If it's the weekend and I need to plan my weekend and I haven't already written out what I do, all I have to do is go through here and say, oh, okay, here, do I need to make more? Do I need to make more? You know, do I have more? So it just keeps, I just keep all kinds of notes in here, and it keeps me where if I need to go back, I can really find what I did, because in 2 or 3 years, I'm not gonna remember. How much fabric did I purchase for the whole quilt? So for this Riley Blake, I just bought a yard of each of these to start with, and I haven't run out yet. And anything that I have left over will go, actually I've already used Prim left over in the Swirling Star, so I won't have to do it again. Are you gonna quilt it with the Sashiko machine? Oh no, I'm gonna send it to you, Gina. No way. I mean, I like it to do the small stuff, but I don't wanna have to mess with batting. What does the middle block between the 2 1/2-inch triangles measure? 2.5. Wait. 2.5. So these are all 2.5. So this would be 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. These are H200. I've been making some of the Riley Blake blocks in the Notting Hill fabric, and I love it. Good. You're making the quilt on the cover. Yes, I am going to make the quilt on the cover of the flea market, and we have picked the date for the sew along, but we're going to break it up into different sections, and once we get all that picked, we will release that. That's what I did with my friend in Maine. We created a virtual quilt from my stash for the Lisa Hartman unicorn quilt for my granddaughter. That's fun. Bernadette, do you keep your fabric folded when you starch and then hang it, or do you open it up? So I open it on my ironing board and then starch it and then put it over a fabric dryer, and then I just fold it back up when it's dry. I let it dry overnight. So anything I'm gonna sew this weekend, if it's not starched, I'll starch it tonight so that throughout the weekend I just pull it after it's dry. What white solid would you suggest to use with Christmas morning? I'm afraid to use the PFD that Vanessa suggested after reading the article regarding dye transfer. So PFD means prepared for dyeing. I would use color 200, 9900-200. Oh, Lori says, Kimberly, whenever you send me flowers, they're always the most beautiful. Oh, thank you. Why not just starch it all instead of cutting that piece off? Because I would run out of starch. I don't have enough starch. There's like a starch shortage. Every time I order it from Amazon, it doesn't come. So I only have like 6 cans. So I don't have enough. That's why. You are going to do a video of all the different starching methods. Did you change your mind? No, I think I did them. My starching methods. So I think I did that already. So just Google Fat Quarter Shop starching. You can also look at Lisa Bonjean's channel and what she starched. Because I only do it one way. I literally just lay it out. And it's also in my beginner series. So, yeah, just one way. Oh, I think, okay, you did have I was going to try a different starch. And I do have that, and I am going to try it because I'm almost out of starch. So I have to try it now. Do stuffing because walnut shells erode my tiny glass headed pins. Okay. Love that red piece. Do you have it now? So the only red in the blocks that I don't have is from the Stitch collection. That's that little gingham. It will be here in July. The other fabrics are from my stash. What florist do I like best? Okay, so what I like to do is I just go to the city, whatever city, and I go directly to a florist. And I like to send flowers that will keep living, so that are like in a plant and that have color. I don't want to just send something green. Where can I get the scissors that you use on the show? OG2064. Put that in the search button at Fat Quarter Shop and it will pop up. They're called Omni Grid. Are those half yards? Yes. Looks like a starching marathon this weekend. Yes, I'm going to starch as much as I can. I just don't have a lot of starch. Why are you cutting 1/8 of a piece off? I'm just cutting like a little chunk just because I don't want to have to starch the whole. I just don't have enough starch to do the whole thing. Kimberly, do you wash your fabric? No. Can you make a cat's cradle block with half square triangles and rectangles with corner square triangles? How would the math differ? I think you can. I don't know how to do that off the top of my head, but you can do that. Kimberly, I still have several cans of starch for you at my house. Yes, I'm low on starch. Have you ever starched using non-aerosol Niagara Premium Smooth Finish? Okay, so I do have some non-aerosol that I need to try. I need to take a sprayer home though, because I don't have a sprayer. So I need to just remember to purchase one of those, and I'm going to try it. Kimberly, you can order your favorite starch directly from Faultless. Yeah, it's more expensive. So I try to do it from Amazon, so it's cheaper. Can anyone go to Quilt Market? So you can go to Quilt Festival. Quilt Market is just for stores. So there won't be much lead time to choose fabrics. New quilter, so I don't have a stash. You will have time. We will give you time to at least get some fabrics. So yes, it's just going to be a shorter lead time. Is this a block of the month? How do we know what to buy if we are following you and Lori? Lori and I are using our stash, but Lori did put 2 bundles together. One is a red bundle and one is a background bundle. The red bundle will be in stock until it sells out, and then I'll have more in September. The background bundle sold out, but we will have more in September. What grunge fabric would work for the American Gatherings Quilt Along as the background? I will put that on my list and look that up and come back to you next week with an answer on that one, because I don't know off the top of my head. I reserved the Primitive Gatherings bundle. Have they shipped? No, we did not get our full order. So I did see that some stores received their full order, but we did not. So because we did not receive our full order, we can't ship it, because I just can't. I don't have the order. I don't have it. Some stores got it before us. So we're going to ship it the same day we get it in June. I like the way bed scarves look. I would like to see pattern for those and Lori Holt. Okay. Any update on shipping fat quarter bundles of Jardin de Fleur? I'll put that on my list for next week to look up, because I don't know off the top of my head. Where do I find all the sew alongs and tutorials? So we put links below, and anytime I'm about to sew along, I tell you as much as I can on the live stream with links below. And I just find them from social media. Have you ever tried liquid starch? So I have tried, I'm not going to say the brand, but I have tried another brand and I did not like it. But I do have some non-aerosol that I need to try. I just need to buy a sprayer for it. Do you put anything between your fabric and ironing board? Yes, I put just some Bella Solids down, and it just becomes like a big thick. I leave it there for like 6 months and it just soaks it in. For the background for American Gatherings, they suggest 1040-42. Is 43 a lot darker, or would it also work? I heard you mention it in a previous live stream. I will pull both of those fabrics this week and cut 2 pieces and bring it and show it to you with the blocks so you can choose, and I'll show it to you with one of my blocks and then the 2 fabrics labeled so you can decide. Do you have an update on Zen Chic's dance in Paris? Yes, mid-June. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the other stuff I sewed on this weekend because I'm a busy bee. So Aditya Sitar is having a sew along. It's completely free on her blog. It is an event from May 10th to May 23rd, and she's posting blocks every day through the week except Sundays. She's on like block 11, so I'm a little bit behind. Now, her blocks are 4.5 inch unfinished, and I started that way, but they just weren't very challenging, and I found them to be, for me, just a little too boring. So I redid them. I showed you the ones I started with. Now, I did use all that fabric. I cut it back up into these blocks. I am reducing all of mine to 2.5 inches square. So here are the blocks I have so far, and by next week I'll be caught up. I mean, I'm only a little bit behind. And then I'll show you how I came up with the measurements for all of them and my little tricks for all of them. So I actually started this on Monday, so I was able to get all of these blocks between, oh, actually I started on Tuesday. I was actually able to get this done in 3 days, all of these blocks. So I'm gonna show you my little tricks. I'm gonna pull one block of each and show you what I did. And I'm gonna just kind of give you a general idea of kind of how I came up with it. 3, 4, 5, 6. I like to challenge myself, and I don't need a big quilt. So I don't need a quilt that's 70 inches. So this fabric is actually Bee Cross Stitch Cottage in both the dark and the light, and it will match it actually 100% matches my couch and my front room, so I can put this on a table and actually have it be usable. So with this block, I did something totally crazy. I did this size. I made this wider, made the whole outside big, put a 2.5 inch square, drew lines with friction pen, matched it up with my 2.5 inch square ruler, and trimmed it down. I'm gonna find my ruler real quick. Thanks. So you'll see that they all match exactly. So I just made it bigger. It took me a while to figure that one out. This one I chain pieced, big long strips, subcut, and then recut, trimmed it down. This I used half square triangle paper H200. This I chain pieced. This I used H100 triangle paper. This is a cat's cradle. I did the same exact. I did the H100 paper and then the technique that I taught you today to do these. Oh, this is the same one. And then this I used H100 paper. Now on all of these, I pressed open. And the quilt's pretty intense in terms of making a lot of blocks each day. And she's showing you how to do it in her fabric. So you can check her out. She's got video tutorials. She's got all kinds of stuff that will help you. So that's kind of what I did. Oh, and then I have a little image. So when I was doing this, I just kind of was running out of room on where to get my clappers to fit. So I put one of the clappers on top of the other and then put fabric in between because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. So I was like really using all my clappers to use this, to make this. This is really, really neat clappers for this one. And I'm just keeping them in this little bucket from, I got this at Target, I think. Okay, so now I'll answer questions before I show you some other stuff. Thank you to Suzanne McCallan for our super chat, and I will answer any questions. So let's see. I follow Kimberly's starching method. Difference is I use Best Press, which Kimberly sells at FQS. What is the difference between Kimberly's brand and Best Press? Best Press is more, it's lighter. And that's what Laura uses, so it's just not as stiff. Kimberly, can you show the difference between a starched, unwashed, starched, washed, and unstarched, washed quilt? Probably not, because I'm not going to do a unstarched quilt. Let's see, a starched, unwashed, a starched, washed. Okay, I can do this. I can do the starched, unwashed, and the starched, washed. But the unstarched, probably not, because everyone who works here starches. So we'll find 2 quilts here that want, but everyone who works here starches, so I won't have an unstarched, but we'll find something to show. Any word on Happy Days? Pre-orders from February. Yes. Yardage is available now. Pre-cuts June. Kimberly, I love the new Garden Life collection. Will there be a layer cake or jelly roll? No. And if you want that collection, I would buy it now. The half yard bundle already sold out. One of the yardage SKUs already sold out, and Tilda prints that collection one time, so I've already asked to get more and I can't get any more. In a past video, you mentioned there may be some exciting news concerning Blackbird. Is there any news you could share? Soon. Not yet. Is there an update on Boudoir by Basic Gray? It's late. We'll give you a date next week. Which Sew by Row is actively going? So Sew by Row is the quilt by Lori Holt with the tomato pincushions, and that is actively going. You just sign up for it at Fat Quarter Shop. Did you say Sew Sampler May will be late? Yes. Any chance you will carry more canvas bags? Yeah, so we do. We try to carry, if we think we can sell it, we buy it. If we buy too much of it, it won't sell. But we do anything art gallery canvas, we always carry. And if there's a specific art gallery canvas you want, we can always get that. But we do carry for art gallery all of their cotton, flannel, rayon, and canvas. When I'm piecing, do I use steam? Yes, I love steam. Is that Soldier Blue Bee Cross Stitch Cottage? Okay, I'm using, in here, I'm going to look at my book and I'll tell you. I'm using, this is 745 Cottage and 747 Cottage. So I think the 745 is the dark and the 747 is the light. Is there any way I can find out what colors Lori uses in each of her blogs for the red and white quilt? So she just posts them on her blog, but she's using current fabric, old fabric, her fabric, other people's fabric. She's just using scraps. So she's probably not going to know exactly all of them, what they are. Will Christmas morning be arriving soon? No, it is already pushed all the way to July. Any updates for Spring in Paris kit? June. And yardage, June. Okay, so I'm going to move to my next section real quick. So there is right now a Stars and Stripes quilt along that I wanted to tell you about. Red Rain Boots Handmade on Instagram has all the details. If you go on her post from 7 days ago, it has all the details on how to enter to win, what to sew, what fabric, what they're doing each week. So I would go there. It's going to use the Stars and Stripes original pattern and the Stars and Stripes 2 pattern. We have both of them in stock as PDFs. This one is also available as paper. The paper on this one is not out to the public yet. They're on sale because Camille's patterns are our pattern of the month, so they're actually 30% off. And if you're looking for fabric to make either of these quilts, use your stash or Shine On and Sunday Stroll by Camille and Bonnie. Bonnie and Camille match these. So I have the quilts and I'm going to show them to you. And this is Stars and Stripes, and this is the back. And I'm going to show it to you from the front. And I will show you, this one's actually washed and unstarched. So I will show it to you because I can tell it's washed, and I can tell, I don't think Camille uses, Bonnie and Camille don't use starch. So let me see one of those quilts over there real quick. One of the table runners. So this is Camille's quilt. We can have the smaller one, that blue one. And this is washed. I love the quilting on this. So this is washed, and you can tell that it's washed by the feel. And you can tell that once you wash it, it kind of crinkles up a little, not crinkles, but you know, it shrinks a little bit. And Camille does not starch or pre-wash. So this is how an unstarched, unwashed, an unstarched quilt that's later washed looks. Okay, this quilt is starched, and I know it's starched because our sample maker used starch, and it's quilted, and it hasn't been washed, and you can see how the background, it's nice and flat. Once it washes, it gets this, you know, like a softer feel. So, but I can also show starched and starched, washed and unwashed. So if you want to sew along, definitely get the pattern at Fat Quarter Shop. This quilt is so beautiful. So I'm going to fold this up. The next quilt is Stars and Stripes 2. It just came out as a PDF. It's beautiful. I want to make it. And there are just different settings. So like this one has a darker star, lighter star, different placement of the blocks. And this is the back. And this one's bigger, so I'm going to show you from the front. It's really big. Oh my goodness, it's so big. I don't want it to be on the floor. It's ginormous. And this one is not washed. And you can tell it's not washed by touching it. I can just tell it's not washed. So you can see that there's no shrinkage here. Right here, you see the difference? You can just see it. I mean, but if you touch a quilt, you just know. So this is washed and this is unwashed. So I just wanted to let you know about that sew along that is being hosted by Red Rain Boots and Camille. And then I'm going to show you our Blast from the Past. This is Cream and Sugar book by It's So Emma. We published it in 2019. And I'm going to show you the quilt. I made this quilt. It was a booger. So this is, I would say, pretty advanced. And this is using the Sonoma collection by Andover. And that collection, I'm going to show it to you up front. It is out of print now. But you could do this with red and white fabrics, blue and white, and Henry Glass has a collection called Butter Churn that is similar. And Mike at mylongarm.com, he quilted this, and this quilt has not been washed. I know because I can feel it, and it's also mine. I don't ever wash mine. And then I'll show you how I did the label on this one. I just saw it. Okay. So when I did the label on this one, I pieced my backing, and then this is 2 rectangles and a big rectangle, and I sewed this in. And it just says handmade Kimberly Jolly. And then let's see, from our What's New section, we had some requests for tone-on-tone whites. And going forward, we're going to have white bundles every time Moda comes out with new collections. And it will be a mix of white and cream. And these were the whites from Moda, Riley Blake, and Robert Kaufman that we had in stock. So I'm going to show it to you. And this will kind of be a one and done because once we're out, I can't get more fabric, but we will be constantly adding. So I can tell you this is Minnick and Simpson, Bonnie and Camille, I think. No, Fig Tree, Riley Blake, It's got little hashtags. And I'm not sure. And this has stars on it. This has cherries. This is a Lori Holt background. This has pin. This is Pin Drop by Riley Blake. See the little pins? This is a polka dot. This has snowflakes. This is Kimberbell. This is a dot. This is Bonnie Camille. This is Kimberbell Swirls. I think that's Kimberbell also. It's little Dresden's. And then this is I believe a Moda. Polka dot. So if you're looking to build your white on white stash, this is Kimberbell. Kimberbell. And this is Blossom by Riley Blake and Polka Dot. So we're putting together these bundles, and then for Moda, we'll do, they're the only company that comes out with enough white on white to do it by collections that are released. And they'll either be fat quarter or half yard bundles depending on how many SKUs I have to work with. And then now I'm gonna go over kind of the follow-up questions that I had from last week. So that if you ask us a question during live stream and I can't answer it, I'm going to answer it the next week. So the open questions we had are American gatherings. So if you ordered a fat eighth bundle from us, it shipped this week. Fat quarter bundles will ship in June. Fat quarter shop did not receive our full order, so we cannot ship it. So I'm very sorry that we didn't receive our full order. Once we get our full order, we will ship it. Happy Days yardage is available now. Pre-cuts will be June. Strawberries and Rhubarb by Fig Tree, yardage and pre-cuts May. No, late June. Dance in Paris, middle of June. Low volume April bundle, late June. And Christmas morning, July. And you can ask any other questions too. These are two new kits that we have. This one is called Barn Dance. It is the free pattern that is included in the Jolly Bar. So if you look at our Jolly Bar on the back, there's always a free pattern. So this is the free pattern. Angel designed this, Carrie sewed it, and Gina from Thread Graffiti quilted it. And I love the quilting on this one. And then I'll show it in the front. So you can get this as a Jolly Bar or as a quilt kit. And we do have one more kit using this collection called Spring Chicken by Sweetwater and Moda. This one is a shortcut quilt. Sue made it and Mike at mylongarm.com quilted it. And this is it from the front. I love this collection. If you're ever looking for yellows, this is a really nice yellow. It's kind of an original. If you look at it up close, it's kind of an original yellow because it's got a tiny bit of orange in it. And then another new kit we have is from the Canning Day collection. Jocelyn designed it, Denise made it, and Mike quilted it. It's the Jolly Bar Bakewell. It's the video of the week. So this one is actually from a couple years ago. It's from last year. So this is where we're showing last week's, and we're going to show you a pop-up of the video thumbnail. So if you're looking for it, you can find it. And so that's what I got today. So I'll answer questions. So send in any questions you have. One announcement I have is next week's live stream will be on Thursday because I have a kit event Friday. So I will be here next Thursday. And Curiouser by Tula Pink. It will be arriving next week. So first, what's going to ship out is pre-cuts. Fat quarter bundles, jelly rolls, layer cakes that were pre-ordered, those will ship first. Later in the week, half-yard bundle and 1-yard bundles will ship because we cut those here. So we have to roll it out, cut it, fold it. And also kits, once we cut the backing sets, those will sell. What is the best thin batting for pin cushions? 100% cotton. Do Jolly Bars have pinked edges? Yes. Can you mix background in a quilt effectively? Yes, you can. If you're nervous about it, just stick with one background to start. It's kind of like you got to get used to it. Do you starch my binding? Yes, I starch everything. Binding, backing, everything. The turquoise and American flag quilt, what is the name? Stars and Stripes. When you say you don't wash, what do you do if they get used and dirty? Well, I'll wash them then, and I'll wash them on like cold water, and I'll hang them on a fence. And I do use my quills. I just, they only get washed if they get vomited on. I know that's gross, but I just don't like them washed. And I mean, like a bunch of my kids' quilts, like they're washed. Like that's not a big deal. It's just the ones I use for decoration, I don't wash. How do you do your labels when you give a quilt as a gift? Do you put the person's name or just my name? No, I just put my name. Thank you to FQS, you're awesome. Thank you. If you starched your fabric for the top, do you need to starch the backing? Should you pre-wash the batting? Okay, so the backing, I always pre-wash. No, not always. So let me start over. Backing. If I have time, I starch it. I try to starch it. If I don't have time, I don't. It will shrink differently than the top, and I would never wash batting. It will come apart, so don't wash batting. Can you consider showing quilt as you go? We have several videos by Jared Brendevig on our channel showing that. What was the white on white low volume bundle? It is called Tone on Tone Treasures Fat Quarter Bundle. And let's see, we have some new YouTube members. So thank you to Patty Green, Jacqueline Miner, Susan Moore, Krista Meyer, Dana Grams, Nisha, Karen Combs, and Susan Moffat. And thank you to everyone for watching today. I will be back next Thursday, and I'll see you then. Bye!